It spilled off my Kodak filled of the SFF.
Cause all of my homies smoke. Pop your shit, twin. Chicks in the back talking big shit. Yeah. They know the difference. Come around me, keep your distance.
Jabriana Turner just wanted to take her baby boy trick-or-treating for Halloween. But in the days leading up to Halloween, the man she called Bay would stand over her body on a dark porch in North Little Rock, Arkansas, telling police she made him pull the trigger. However, the argument they had cracked the door open on a secret that this relationship had been sitting on for a long time, and that secret is exactly what brought a loaded gun onto that porch at 2 in the morning. The question is, what was he really hiding? And did Jabriana Turner pay for it with her life? But before we get to what he said, you need to know what that camera outside caught her saying first.
What the Where did she just shot at? You said it's a house? Yes, it's down her leg. Can you turn it over to see? And the back right here. She got shot in both her sides. Please get her, hurry up.
Okay, they're on their way.
Up my sleep, logic.
Okay. They're on their way. I have to ask a few more questions, okay? Tell me exactly what happened.
Baby, she shot on both sides.
Okay, is the assailant still nearby?
Because this case has layers that most news outlets never even got close to. And by the time we work through all 3 parts of this story, you are going to see how many signs were sitting right there in plain sight, and how not a single one of them was enough to stop what happened in the early hours of November 23, 2025. Jabriana Marie Turner was born on March 16, 2006, right there in North Little Rock, Arkansas. She was the only daughter of her mother, Christopher Turner, and from everything the people who loved her have said publicly since her death, she was exactly the kind of person a community feels when they lose her. Her obituary describes her as someone with a warm spirit and a heart full of love, the kind of person who could do your hair and make you feel good about yourself while she did it. People from her community talked about her beautiful singing voice, about how funny she was, about how she genuinely cared about the people around her without asking for anything back.
I want your whole crew, not a fraction. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Throw that ass back, bitch, throw that ass back, down. From the back.
She also had a 1-year-old son named Javon, and everything she did in her short life, she did with him in mind first. Just 40 days before she was killed, Jabriana reached out to Officer Tommy Norman, a well-known community figure in the area, asking if he knew of anybody who could give her and her son a ride so the little boy could experience trick-or-treating. She was not asking for the world. She just wanted her baby to have a real memory that he could hold on to, but she never got to see that Halloween with him.
Come on. Oh, yeah. Come on. Oh, yeah. Come on.
Now, let's talk about Demarcus Cortez Lewis, because understanding who he was before that night matters just as much as understanding who she was. Demarcus was also 19 years old, also from North Little Rock, and at the time of everything that happened, he was working a regular job at a McDonald's on MacArthur Drive, living at home with his father and stepmother. By most outward appearances, he was just another young man from that part of Arkansas trying to figure out adulthood. But he was also somebody who had already picked up a prior weapons charge from a robbery case, was on probation at the time these events unfolded, and had been carrying a Glock 19 for about 3 months that he had absolutely no legal right to have on him. He and Jabriana met somewhere around 2022 or 23. Jabriana was working at a local spot called Sharks over on Pike Street at the time, and their paths crossed in the way that young people's paths cross when they're both just out here trying to move through life. In the beginning, it was probably exactly what it looked like from the outside. 2 young people drawn to each other, spending time together, building something that felt real, even if it was complicated from the jump. And complicated it was, because right from the start, this relationship carried dynamics that most people would struggle to navigate, even with years of maturity behind them.
I want your whole crew, not a fraction. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Ooh, that ass fat, might as well throw it back. Throw that ass back, bitch, throw that ass back. Damn.
From the back.
Lewis's own stepmother mentioned casually that Jabriana's girlfriend would come over to their house with her on a regular basis, someone who lived close by and who the stepmother had seen and recognized multiple times. We are going to come back to that detail shortly because it sits at the heart of what was really going on underneath the surface of this relationship, but for now, just hold it in the back of your mind as we continue building this picture. By early to mid-2024, Jabriana gave birth to their son, Javon, and that baby changed the stakes of everything between them without resolving any of the underlying tensions that had already been building. What a shared child did was give them a permanent connection that neither one of them could walk away from cleanly, which meant that every argument, every accusation, every moment of distrust now had to be navigated around a 1-year-old who needed both of his parents to be functional. They argued constantly, mostly over childcare responsibilities, money, trust, and the kind of accusations that tend to fly when two young people are both insecure and both dealing with pressures they do not fully have the tools to manage yet. There were prior physical altercations between them that people witnessed, and family members on both sides were familiar enough with the pattern of their conflict that nobody was shocked when things escalated, even though nobody predicted it would end the way it did.
Tampa police are searching for a 17-year-old they believe shot and killed another teenager during a FaceTime call in January.
Yeah, detectives are working to find 17-year-old Brandon Brown Jr. since last month. That a 16-year-old girl was found dead inside her home. Now, News Channel 8's Georgia MacArthur joins us live after speaking to that young girl's mother. Georgia.
Yeah, Josh and Paula, it was extremely hard to talk to that young girl's mother, 16-year-old Miracle Cromwell's mom. She was full of grief. She says her daughter was on a positive pathway forward before her life was cut short.
My heart is really broken because there's a piece of me gone.
Loretta Cromwell can't hide a face full of pain. Her daughter, 16-year-old Miracle, was shot and killed inside a home on North 12th Street in Tampa on January 22nd.
You know, I was the best mom. I thought I was being a good mom.
Tampa police believe 17-year-old Brandon Brown Jr. shot the young girl inside the home. Investigators learned Cromwell, Brown, and several other friends were on a FaceTime call that night. Brown was said to have started waving a tan-colored gun around during the call, and a single shot was fired after a brief exchange. Police say Cromwell was killed by the gunfire.
I mean, why? I mean, it wasn't worth it.
Brown took off as officers were arriving, and they have not been able to locate him since. He's believed to have discarded a firearm, magazine, ammunition, all of which police say were found along his escape route.
I don't hate the person who done it, but I ask the Lord to, to give justice for my baby.
Her mother says it was a heartbreaking end to a life filled with promise, one that began in extraordinary fashion 16 years ago. She says they called her Miracle for a reason.
Because she was a miracle baby. She was born in the car. When I had an illness, with me, and they said she wasn't gonna make it.
Loretta says she hopes the teen responsible will eventually turn himself in.
And I'm a hurt mother that I don't get a chance to see my baby no more.
We are going to get to all of the details, but first, let's walk through the night of November 23rd, 2025 from the beginning. In the early hours of November 23rd, the tension between Jabriana Turner and Demarcus Lewis had been building for days, and that evening it finally found somewhere to go. It started earlier that same night at Jabriana's place on West 17th Street at 1909 Parker Street, and by the time it was over, it had moved across the neighborhood and taken a direction that nobody, including the people who were standing right there, could pull back from. What began as an argument over the kind of things these two always argued about, childcare, trust, who was doing what and with who, turned physical at her house in a way that was witnessed by people who were present. Lewis pulled her wig off, threw her phone up onto the roof of the house, punched and kicked her in the face, and threw her body down onto the ground in the front yard. It was bad enough that his own father, who was there and saw what was happening, made the decision to physically intervene and drive him home himself just to put some distance between them before anything worse went down. Before leaving her house, Lewis walked out with two things: Jabriana's Taurus G2 9mm, which he said he was taking because he did not trust her around the baby, and the television set he had bought for their son, which he said she had essentially given back to him in the midst of the argument. Now here is where the story takes a turn that sets up everything that follows, because instead of the night ending there the way his father hoped it would, the two of them started texting each other again, almost immediately. By around 2 in the morning, they had patched things up just enough for Jabriana to decide she was going to go over to Parker Street to get her things back. Her mother was home with the baby, so she felt okay making the trip. She was going to get her gun and her television, and then, depending on how things went, maybe they would actually settle something between them for once. When she arrived at 1909 Parker Street, Demarcus says they greeted each other with hugs and kisses on the porch, which in itself tells you something about how this relationship operated, because this was the same man who had been physical with her just hours before, and yet here they were, back to terms of endearment on a dark porch in the middle of the night. He went to the shed, retrieved her Taurus, loaded it, put the safety on, and brought it out to her along with the television. And then, according to Lewis, the entire situation changed in a single moment on that porch. He says she stepped back, removed the safety, pointed the Taurus directly at his head, and told him she could kill him right now. He says he stepped to the side, drew his Glock 19 from his jacket, and fired multiple times in self-defense. But a neighbor's Blink camera sitting outside that house was running the entire time, and what it captured in the audio from that night is something that changes the shape of this story in a way that Lewis's version of events cannot account for. According to what investigators documented from that recording, a woman's voice was picked up screaming in the dark outside that house, and what she said was this: "Bae, call 911. I was not about to shoot you. I dropped the gun." When officers arrived at the scene and began interviewing people at the house, Lewis was present, but never once volunteered to detectives that he was the one who had fired the shots, even while the mother of his child was bleeding out in the driveway. Jabriana was transported to the University of Arkansas for medical sciences and pronounced dead at 2:45 in the morning, and Lewis went back inside and went to sleep. When detectives brought Lewis in for questioning on the morning of November 23rd, just hours after Jabriana was pronounced dead, he came in without a lawyer, sat down calmly, and started talking. And the more he talked, the story he was trying to tell started pulling apart at the seams in ways that the detective sitting across from him was not going to let slide. He right there in the opening minutes hedges on whether Javon is even his child, and that small detail matters because it tells you something about the level of trust and certainty that existed inside this relationship, even around something as fundamental as their own baby. From there, the interview only gets more complicated because the version of events Lewis laid out for detectives had gaps in it that the physical evidence was not going to fill the way he needed it to. He told detectives he shot her 3 times in self-defense after she pointed her Taurus at his head. Investigators documented at least 8 bullet wounds on Jabriana's body. He said he did not pick up any shell casings and had no idea where they went. Not a single casing was recovered from the scene, despite a shooting in which a woman was struck multiple times in an open front yard. Both guns vanished completely, and when detectives asked him about it, Lewis pointed to a mystery visitor he called Wesley or Wes, a light-skinned man in his early 20s who he said had been at the house that night, heard the shooting, came outside, grabbed both weapons, and disappeared into the night.
Here with family members, the mom and the aunt of 19-year-old Jabriana Turner. And, excuse me, you get a little bit closer and this is Jabriana, everyone. Very beautiful young lady who I actually had the pleasure of knowing. This is Jabriana and her mom, Christopher. Jabriana, very pretty young lady. And Jabriana's son, Javon Turner, 1 year old. So, at 2 in the morning on November 23rd, Jabriana was shot and killed in Othorock. And I'm here with, as I said, with her mom, Christopher, her Aunt Toya, and I had heard about what happened. I didn't know at the time that I actually knew Jabriana, but I actually watched her grow up, and obviously very heartbreaking for many reasons. Number one, she's 19 years old. She's still basically a baby. Number two, she left behind a 1-year-old child.
But detectives were not working from Lewis's account alone. They had the neighbors' Blink camera audio placing a female voice at that exact location, saying she was not about to shoot and that she had already dropped the gun, which directly contradicted the threat narrative Lewis was building. They had witness statements from people who confirmed Lewis at the scene as the shooter. They had his own father's account, which, while supportive of his son, still confirmed that Lewis had been at that address that night and that a confrontation had taken place. They had the text message thread that established the entire lead up to the shooting and showed Lewis was the last person Jabriana was in contact with before she was killed. That combination of evidence was enough for investigators to move forward. When Lewis was arrested 2 days later on November 25th near his workplace at a Circle K on MacArthur Drive, a loaded Beretta 9mm was found hidden in the women's restroom trash can at the McDonald's nearby. Lewis admitted it was his, adding a second weapons charge on top of the murder charge because he was already on probation with an explicit prohibition against possessing any firearm. And then investigators found something that expanded the scope of this case even further. Ballistics testing confirmed on December 2, 2025 through the NIBIN database that casings from the night Jabriana was shot matched a prior shots fired incident from June 10, 2024 at 800 North B Street in North Little Rock, where 13 casings had been collected and nobody was ever charged. That gun had already been fired in this neighborhood before that night, which means this was not the first time Lewis had pulled a trigger on somebody, and the question of what happened that June night remains sitting open. Now let's get into the part of this story that has been sitting underneath everything else the entire time, because there is a reason Lewis said in that interrogation room that the argument on that porch was about some other shit, and it was not just about a television or about who Jabriana was texting. Remember that I mentioned that Lewis's stepmother told detectives that Jabriana's girlfriend came over to their house with her regularly. Lewis brought up jealousy multiple times in that same interview. He talked about a woman named Ari, who Jabriana was supposedly on the phone with right before she came to Parker Street. He accused her of moving around on him, and in the same breath he acknowledged he had his own separate girlfriend who had nothing to do with Jabriana. Both of them were carrying things they had not said to each other directly, and all of that weight landed on a porch at 2 in the morning with 2 loaded guns between them. And then there is the detail that almost nobody covering this case spent real time on. At the time of her death, Jabriana was 15 weeks pregnant, meaning she had been carrying that baby since around August of 2025, roughly 3 months before she was killed. Lewis's own father did not know about their first child until relatively recently before all of this happened, and he found out about this second pregnancy for the very first time in the middle of the argument on that same night. Think carefully about what that means. This man was already a father to a 1-year-old that he had kept from his own family, and now there was another baby on the way that almost nobody in either of their lives even knew about yet. What was he protecting by keeping all of that quiet? And from who? And why did it feel urgent enough that it needed to stay hidden? Lewis's answer was that his father told him to lay down and the detectives would probably come back in the morning for his statement, as if the appropriate response to shooting someone you claim to love is to follow a bedtime suggestion and close your eyes. As of early 2026, Demarcus Lewis remains in the Pulaski County Regional Detention Facility without bond, and the case has been officially classified as reopened following a status hearing on February 25, 2026, which means investigators are still working threads that have not been resolved. There is no trial date set. Meanwhile, Jabriana's mother, Christopher, had to set up a fundraiser just to cover $5,000 in funeral costs. The funeral was held on December 10th at Hardy Funeral Home in Little Rock, and Javon Turner, 1 year old, is now being raised by his grandmother. Arkansas has one of the highest rates of intimate partner violence in the entire country. Firearms are involved in 56% of intimate partner homicides in that state, and black women are disproportionately carrying the weight of that violence, representing 35% of victims while making up only 15.7% of the population. Jabriana Turner is a number inside those statistics now, but before any of this, she was a daughter, a mother, a girl who did hair and made people laugh and reached out to a community officer asking for a ride so her baby could go trick-or-treating on a fall evening in Arkansas. She deserved so much better than what found her on that porch, and Javon deserves to know one day exactly who his mother really was. What do you think about this case? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.
All right, everybody, I'm back here with Christopher, the mother of Jabriana. If you haven't heard, on the morning of November 23rd, Jabriana was murdered, gunned down in North Little Rock. And I actually have known Jabriana since she was a child. She died at the age of 19. And last week I posted a video asking for assistance because you can't afford to pay for the funeral. She didn't have any life insurance, and we received no donations last week, and that's fine. We received a lot of prayers. So Friday is the day that the family has to have the money to proceed with the funeral next week. And so I did a video a few hours ago letting people know that, hey, we need close to $3,000 to come up with to be able to have the funeral. I know that you want to have your daughter laid to rest. It's very important to you. It's very important to her family. It's also very important to her friends in the community. As you can see, we lost a very beautiful young lady, and this is her son right here, who now doesn't have a mom, and you're going to need help raising him. But we're here at the funeral home, and I wanted to share with you that within the last few hours, all the money has been raised. It's all been raised.
Well, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for everything, because now I can rest. At first I wasn't resting. So thank you so much.
And the $400 you're going to take out of your check, you don't have to do that. And you can keep that. All right. Let me explain something to everyone. This is what social media can be used for, all right? It can be used for good. And everyone out there, and when I say everyone, you came through in a matter of hours. Now, that takes the burden off of you. To let you know, I've already called the funeral home and made the payment over the phone. And so I didn't want to tell you that. And that's why I said I need to meet with you right away. And I asked him not to say anything, but this young lady will be able to be laid to rest. And as I said, keep her in your prayers, her son in your prayers, and her mom, Christopher, in your prayers. Thank you so much. You did it once again. And when everyone out there tonight, whether you prayed or whether you donated, when everyone out there lays their head down tonight, you should be at peace knowing that you helped this mom out. All right. Here with family members, the mom and the aunt of 19-year-old Jabriana Turner. And excuse me, you can get a little bit closer. And this is Jabriana, everyone. Very beautiful young lady who I actually had the pleasure of knowing. This is Jabriana and her mom, Christopher. Jabriana, very pretty young lady. And Jabriana's son, Javon Turner, 1 year old. So, at 2 in the morning on November 23rd, Jabriana was shot and killed in North Little Rock. And I'm here with, as I said, with her mom, Christopher, her aunt Toya, and I had heard about what happened. I didn't know at the time that I actually knew Jabriana, but I actually watched her grow up, and obviously very heartbreaking for many reasons. Number one, she's 19 years old. She's still basically a baby. Number two, she left behind a 1-year-old child. And I'm coming to you today for a few reasons. First and foremost is prayers for the family. Right before the holidays. Secondly, I just wanted to give Christopher an opportunity to say anything, to share about her daughter. If Toya wanted to say anything. And, you know, we're here at the local library. We've been visiting a little bit. And, you know, when I looked at Jabriana and I also went to her Facebook page, like, she looked real familiar. And her mom said, Officer Norman, you know, you watched her grow up. So, what can you tell people about your daughter?
Well, hi, to everybody that don't know me, my name is Christopher. I'm the mother of Jabriana Turner. My daughter was right. She might live a hard life because of how we grew up, you know, and in and out of foster homes and stuff. But my daughter loved to do hair, like she wouldn't cause harm to nobody. And she left me a grandson behind that I, you know, not like saying that I'm forced to take care of because I love him, but man, he's outgoing. My little girl loved to do hair. She loved to rap, you know, especially when she around her family. She family oriented. And I just love my daughter, man. And I'm so sad that she got took from me at the age of 19. And we were just getting to know each other, like on a mother-daughter level. Just please, just anything will possibly help us. Thank you.
Toya, anything that you want to say? No? Okay. Now, you know, I definitely want to be totally transparent about everything. And then Christopher even mentioned that, you know, that her relationship with her daughter was not always great. And I don't think any relationship with parents and their kids are always great. They've been through things. They've been separated before, where, you know, she mentioned Jabriana has been in foster care. The goal for me to come together with the family today is, number one, prayer. Number two, is if anyone can assist with funeral arrangements, anything will help. It's Hardy Funeral Home, and I'll put the number in the caption. You know, they take payments over the phone. You can contact me privately if you wanted to send in a donation. I know that you didn't see her on my page. It doesn't matter. You weren't really familiar with who she was, and that doesn't matter. But there's a young lady that has been shot and killed, and then there is a young man who is going to be without his mom. I know that you've had a lot of things going on in your life, and you weren't always able to be there. But at the end of the day, that is your daughter.
Yes.
And so, with that being said, pray for this family. I'll include more information on how you can help in the caption. Thank you so much. Everybody, good morning. I am here in North Little Rock on this Tuesday. It's December the 2nd. I'm here with Christopher. She is the mother of Jabriana, 19 years old, who was murdered on the morning of November 23rd. She was shot and killed multiple times. There has been an arrest made. And she's also the mother of 1-year-old boy right here. And we met last week, and you know, we talked about we needed prayers, and if anybody wanted to make a donation, we're down to $2,900 that's needed, right?
Yes, sir.
It's needed by this Friday. The funeral will be next week. And I broke it down the best way that I really knew how is that for Jabriana's funeral, if we could get 120 people to donate $25. Now, let me explain this to you, okay? There's going to be, probably in about an hour, there'll be 10,000 people that have seen this video. If 120 people can donate $25, you'll be able to lay your daughter to rest. You're not wanting this extravagant funeral, nothing really fancy. You just want to be able to lay her to rest in peace. I know you mentioned before that, you know, transparency was something that you were really big on, as far as, you know, you didn't always have the best relationship with Jabriana. She was in foster care, but you all actually just moved in together, and you all were trying to reconnect and make up for lost time. And you know, I'm really pleading with everyone today. 120 people can donate $25. I will give you my PayPal once we have it. I will call a funeral home. I can also leave the number to the funeral home, whatever you feel more comfortable with. But I know there's going to be thousands of people that watch this. If 120 of you could just spare $25, we could get this taken care of and get it paid. I know you have to meet with the funeral home Friday, right? And they're expecting the payment. So once again, you never really saw, well, you did see Jabriana on my page when she was younger. There was one video when I pulled up to a house, and Jabriana ran outside with some other kids. You remember the video we were talking about? Yeah, and so it was over there kind of where Cece lived at, but it's all I know to do to help this family out. I mean, you know, I know a lot of you aren't from Central Arkansas or North Rock, Arkansas, but we are really one big virtual family. And I know it's the holidays. I know there's a lot going on and people have other needs, but I was thinking about it last night, and you know, how can I help Christopher, who is the mom here of Jabriana, and you know, I just broke it down. As I said, 120 people, $25 if you can make that happen. I guess I know when I saw you walk in here, and you're still, I guess it goes without saying, you're still really probably distraught and in shock. And
yeah, I can't believe that it's real, but I know it's here, and I'm just trying to do right by my little girl. I'm a mother living in poverty. You know, I don't got much, and I'm trying to raise